All right, next we have Miss Hannah Berry.
I'm Hannah, and I did the human side of law enforcement. So where I got this topic was, I'm sure some of you guys in school with us have heard about it. During the summer, rising seniors can either go to the girls' state at Longwood, or they can go to this, which is the Virginia State Police Law Academy. And what you do is you go in on a Sunday and you graduate on a Friday. And on that Sunday, I went in, and there were two other people from Madison, Holly Hall, and I'm not sure where Dalton Dudley is in here, but the three of us went in, and the day I went in, I had sunglasses on my head, like aviators. And the minute you walk in, I didn't expect them to start screaming, but they started screaming. They made us run as fast as we could, and I got the nickname Hollywood. And so the first day, they stuck us into this huge room, and our Sergeant Crespo, came in, and he told us that we weren't allowed to look at him. My last name being Berry, I was in the front, so we had to steer forward. They referred to us as Thing because we weren't worthy enough to call them by their names. They didn't really look at us like humans. So first, you get this, you get intimidated, and you're like, oh my gosh, these are state police, they're jerks. And by the end, and then the lieutenant, that's what a lot of people thought. And so the lieutenant came in the first night, and he said, today you're going to hate it. He was like, tomorrow you're still probably going to hate it. He was like, by Tuesday, you're going to start to get comfortable. By Wednesday, you're going to like it. And Thursday, you're going to love it. And by Friday, when you graduate, you're not going to leave. And I was like, this is not possible. I want to go home. I miss my mom. And then by Friday, I loved it. We started learning about them. We had, I think it was like 8 or 9 state troopers. They didn't know us. But by the end of the week, we learned their stories. We learned their personalities. We didn't look at them as just state troopers. We didn't objectify them because oftentimes us as civilians, we see policemen and troopers, and we get scared. We just objectify them as they're just solely a cop and they're out here to get us. And by the end of the week, they were right. By Friday, I didn't want to leave. I knew them as people. And what I heard a lot during that week was that they wanted to teach us the human side of law enforcement. So that's where I got my topic. And another thing that I heard was a quote by Steve Harvey. He said that the police, they come out and they risk their lives every single day for us. Imagine having a job where it required you to constantly look over your shoulder. Every single traffic stop, every single 911 call poses a threat on your life. And you're out here doing these things for people who, majority of them, hate you and they objectify you and see you as out to get them. So think about when I noticed on my internship, when I did ride-alongs, that the thing, even we're in a small county and a lot of people know the deputies and stuff like that, I noticed that when we pulled up to a traffic light, everyone around us put on their seatbelts. So they great. They were looking, they were like, oh no, what do I do? What am I doing wrong? I need to stop. They think that policemen are out there to see what you're doing wrong so they can pull you over to write a ticket. But in the long run, what they're really doing is that we often forget to realize is that they pull you over and make you put on your seatbelt so that if you get in a park, you don't die. They sit and wait for you. They don't wait for you to speed, but they sit and they stop you for speeding because you could come around a corner that you're not used to, and if you're speeding, you could kill yourself or someone else. And we forget oftentimes that that's what the deputies and policemen are here for. They're here to protect us and other people, not out to get us. And that's the main thing that I noticed is that a lot of people objectify troopers and policemen as just out to get us and not for the good of us. So I came up with the question, what are the most effective strategies for promoting community involvement of law enforcement so as to positively affect the relationships between the community and deputies? So what I noticed a lot, especially in the city, because the headquarters for the state police is in Chesterfield and in Richmond, so it's the city. And during my internship, I ended up going back and interviewing a trooper. His name was Trooper Bennett, and I asked him, where have you worked? And when you first become a trooper, you're placed in one place, and then after that, you can be placed all over the state of Virginia. And he began in a small community near Tappahannock, and he didn't notice like police brutality and disrespectfulness. He didn't notice that much. But then he got moved to Chesterfield, and he said in the city you notice it way more than out in the country. People just objectify the police. They forget that these people go home every night to a family. They go to school just like we do. They have trials and tribulations just like we do. We just forget that they're humans just like we are. So we often forget the human side of law enforcement. So I did my internship with Deputy Eanes here at the school, and also Deputy Lamb, which he's absolutely the hardest person to get a picture of. I asked him numerous times, but he wouldn't let me. But I mostly did it with Drew Eanes, and with Lamb, he took me on ride-alongs, and that's where the most of the things that I noticed were when you stop at traffic light, people, like you saw everyone around you put on their seatbelts or brake or pull out of the way. And then we did a lot of things, like we stopped around the county. We would go into a food line, or we would stop at Sheets to go in and get a drink just to see how the community reacted. And you notice that there were two polar opposites. There was no in between. People would either get out of the way and leave the building as soon as they came when they saw, a policeman walk in, or they would go out of their way to shake their hand and thank them. And that's mainly the thing that I noticed the most. People they got scared immediately. I even do it myself. If I'm in the car and I'm driving and I see a deputy pull up beside me, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I speeding? Do I have my seatbelt on? Do I have my wallet with me? And then for my community service, I also did it with Deputy Eames. He does DARE. He teaches a class over at the elementary school, and I went with him twice a week to teach kids. And every single time I had a different class, the side, and at the end he would let them ask me questions. And a lot of the things that they asked me, they were like, "Have you been pulled over by a cop, or have you been arrested?" And they all asked like the kind of not really the bad side, but like the negative. Have you been arrested? Are you put in jail? I'm like, no, but this is what the positive things were. And by the end of my community service, I noticed that again they would ask about about the police, and they would ask Deputy Eames questions about like what has he done to help people and stuff like that. And my other thing was I did cocoa with cops, and this is the little boy that I brought with me. It's at the American Legion, and they had a bunch of different activities for kids to do. They had straws and cocoa where they put little marshmallows on them and draw on them to make them snowmen, and then you could decorate cookies. And I specifically brought this little boy because out of all the children that I babysit, he's had a rough life, and his parents are in and out of jail and stuff like that. So if you bring him around a policeman or an officer, he doesn't like them because that's all he's ever been taught is his family doesn't like deputies. And this kid has never interacted with a deputy, but he's terrified. And so I brought him where every single deputy in the county was there. And at first he was absolutely terrified. But throughout the night, Tiffany realized these weren't bad things. They aren't bad people. They're just people. They're just humans. So my legacy was to hopefully people like that and older people and children like that to realize that these people aren't out to get us. They're solely here for protection. And the biggest problem that I encountered was that if a policeman comes into a situation like if they are called into a domestic violence situation, and the people are the neighbors or the people even in the building that they're assisting with are disrespectful and hateful towards them, that would impede how they affect the situation. So if you come in and you're having someone scream in your face and down you while you're trying to help someone, that affects how you respond and how you deal with the situation. And the way the community responds to you is how you. But I think it's very important how the community treats deputies and that they realize that they're humans just like us and they go home at night every single day just like we do. Like I said, the most important thing that I learned was that the importance of how the community and the deputies, how close they are, is how well they're able to do their job and continue to protect us. So that's why I did things like the cocoa cops, so that people in the community come in and talk to the officers, not while a traffic stop while they're writing them a ticket, but just see that they're humans just like us. And what I learned the most at the beginning of this, I committed to West Virginia University to be a forensic science major and be in the FBI. And then while I did DARE with Deputy Eames, I fell in love with the aspect of teaching it. And so I'm now going to community college and then transferring to JMU to be a elementary school teacher because I absolutely fell in love with bettering those to come up in the world with not the idea of objectifying people and other things and a negative connotation to go with open-mindedness and just realize that these aren't people who are out to get us. They're people here to protect us, and the things they do, even though they might cost money as fines or they might have negative connotations in our life, they're here to protect us and the people around us. Advice I would give to rising seniors is definitely not procrastinate, and just like everyone else has said, you have to find something you're passionate in, because if you find something that you're bored in, you won't be able to dig deep into it, and that's the biggest part of this. Anything you choose, you have to be able to dig in as deep as you can and learn as much as you can, because it's definitely worth it. Questions?
I missed where the law enforcement academy was.
It was the Virginia State Police headquarters, so it's in Chesterfield, Richmond area.
Oh, in Chesterfield.
And did you ever have a chance to talk with the deputies here in Nashville with the state police about the issue of body cams?
About actually the trooper Bennett that I talked to in at the headquarters, he said that was some people at first were very, like, I don't know if that's okay, but it actually comes in a lot, it comes in handy because the people are able, if you have like police brutality and these huge things that come on the news about Black Lives Matter or this person's life matters, and they show certain clips because someone will be on the sidelines videotaping a incident, and the body cams will be able to show the whole thing, whereas someone might use that clip and cut only certain parts out of it to show that the media, this specific incident, and portray it as something that didn't really happen. So Drew Bennett said the body cams are very useful in media because that's what happens. People will videotape and it's on the outside and only take a piece of it, and that'll portray that people didn't see the whole thing as something that didn't happen, or the body cams help. They show the whole story.
I guess the second part of my question would be, do you think that the body cams add or detract from police being seen as human beings?
I think they add to it a lot because, like I said, a lot of people will be on the outside looking in, and us on scrolling through Facebook will see a clip, and we won't know that that's the whole story or not, and everyone has their own opinions. And if you have a body cam on a policeman who saw the whole situation, that could definitely add to the story and change the perspective of what might or might not happen.
We hope you'll apply to Madison too.
Thank you.
Hannah, being a police officer is a very stressful job, and they have a lot of training they have to go through. Do you have a sense of how that affects the longevity of police officers staying in that career?
So when I went through the academy for 6 days, I think we actually started out with, there was 50 of us, boys and girls, and there were around like 50 of us. We actually ended with, I think it was under 40 people, because even in just like 6 days, and we weren't actually going through academy, it weeds out the people who can take the screaming in your face, and the people, and troopers, when they scream in your face, they're not doing it to be disrespectful or to scare you. They're doing it because when you're out there in the actual field and you have someone who just hates cops, they could be screaming in your face, telling you everything that you're doing wrong. You have to be able to sit there and block that out and take care of the people who need your help. And so I think that everything they go through definitely helps to show them what they're going to deal with in the real world. And if you can't take that, then they don't make it through the academy. So the people who are out there are able to deal with that, and they're able to block out everything